Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Monday, May 7th. We have 7 games today on Monday's main slate, so about a medium-sized slate here. Not a lot of games, but definitely enough to where we got pitching options to talk about. We got Strasburg on the slate, who is very expensive at $13,600. Really the only stud pitcher worth paying up for, or at least like worth spending a lot of salary on. He gets a matchup with the Padres. We'll talk a lot about him. And then after Strasburg, it just really gets down to like a lot of mid-tier plays with Kyle Hendricks, got Keuchel, Jeff Samardzija, Michael Fulmer, some guys that I've been looking at early on, looking at this slate the night before. But before we do get started looking at pitcher and some bats we want to target today, make sure you guys drop a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel and you have not clicked that subscribe button yet, make sure you do subscribe down below, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But pitcher today, looking at Strasburg and talking about him here, I think Strasburg is worth paying up for on this slate. There aren't a ton of expensive bats I really like. The stacks on this slate that I like are pretty cheap. I really like the Mets today. I like the Tigers. I think the Astros could probably be an expensive stack you go to, but the Mets and Tigers really stick out to me, and a lot of their hitters are dirt cheap. So if I'm going to the Mets and Tigers for bats, I'm going to have salary to pay up for Strasburg. So I will be doing that here. I like this matchup, obviously, with the Padres, a team that just strikes out a lot. There are strikeouts up and down this lineup, from top to bottom. Guys will K, especially when you get towards the bottom of that lineup. A lot of strikeouts there, and not very good hitters either. Obviously, in the National League, you'll be able to face the opposing pitcher, which should help Strasburg. Good pitchers park here in Petco in San Diego, so just a lot of things setting up well for Strasburg. He's very expensive, but like I said, there are a lot of cheap bats I like that I can play to fit Strasburg in. So I'm going to roll with him as my SP1. It's pretty likely he's going to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. With a lot of the other options on the slate, I don't see a ton of guys that could really match Strasburg when it comes to fantasy points. Strasburg could definitely get 30 to 40 here. I would not be surprised at all. And I don't feel like there are any other pitchers on the slate that could really get that amount. So Strasburg, pay up for him on the slate. I feel like cash games, you should definitely do it. Tournaments, I guess you could get away from it. But for cash, one lineup, Strasburg going in there at 13.6. And then SP2, this is where I think we do have multiple options to choose from. Looking at some guys like in that 8K range, I think Jeff Samardzija against the Phillies could be a play at 8,400 if you wanted to go to him. But I do really like Michael Fulmer here at 8K versus the Rangers. I feel like this is a spot where Michael Fulmer definitely has some upside. We usually don't talk about Fulmer as being like an upside pitcher just because he doesn't get a ton of strikeouts. But there are a lot of strikeouts in this Texas lineup, pretty much from top to bottom. A lot of these guys will K. DeShields, Profar, Mazzara, Gallo, even Chirinos down there at the bottom. These guys are going to strike out a lot. There's obviously some power in this lineup. The ballpark's not optimal either. In Texas, that's a good hitter's park, but I still like Michael Fulmer here. I think he does have some upside here. I could see him getting 25 to 30 in this matchup with the Rangers. I could see him putting up a similar line to what he did against Pittsburgh. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. I could totally see Fulmer getting that today versus this Rangers team. So I really like him here as an SP2. If you pair him with Strasburg, that still leaves you $35.50 remaining per player, which I think can be worked around today with all the cheap value bats I like. So pitcher for me, I'm kind of building around Strasburg and Fulmer. But then if we want to look at other pitchers we could go to, Kyle Hendricks against the Marlins, you could play here, but at 9,600, I'm not sure I really want to go to him. I think Dallas Keuchel is a better play at 9,400. Even though Keuchel hasn't looked that great this year, this is a great matchup with Oakland, a team that we know strikes out a lot. These teams did just play, and Keuchel did not play that well against Oakland. He went 7 innings, but did allow 6 runs, only finished with 5 DraftKings points. We could see Keuchel definitely get back here to what we see, like 20, 25 DK points. Pretty possible from Keuchel, just with how many strikeouts are in this Oakland lineup. I do like him as an SP2. If you want to take the route where you fade Strasburg and you want to play like Keuchel, Fulmer, and then pay up for some bats, I guess you could do that. Or if you just really find some cheap bats you like and you want to play Strasburg, Keuchel, I think that does make sense as well. I do like Keuchel as a pivot off of Fulmer if you want to go to him. Jeff Samardzija, I mentioned, it could definitely be a play here versus the Phillies. We know this Phillies team has strikeouts in their lineup. We saw Max Scherzer really dominate them on Sunday. Obviously, Samardzija is not Max Scherzer, but Samardzija can definitely get strikeouts, especially versus some of these guys from the Phillies that will strike out a lot. So I don't mind Samardzija here either if you wanted to play him at 8,400. Fulmer might have more upside and might be safer, but Samardzija right there in price could definitely be a play. And that's really it. I think Zach Eflin people might go to today versus the Giants at 7,300. I guess you could play him here, but he is kind of similarly priced to Michael Fulmer, and I think I'd rather play Fulmer for just a little bit more. Even if you can get up some margin, I think that could be a better route to go. But Zach Eflin, it's versus the Giants. The Giants, we've seen them be a team that has hit the ball well sometimes this year, and they've been a team that's also struggled at times this year. You could go Eflin here if you want to. But I think that's really it for pitcher for me today. Strasburg and Fulmer are my favorite two options, and then other pivots I think you go to. I like Keuchel here. I like Samardzija, and I think Eflin for another cheap option could be a play. But now if we want to look at hitters for today, talk about some bats. All three of my hitters to fill out my 5 plays are going to come from the outfield. So we'll start off here. Obviously, since we went Strasburg and Fulmer, we're going to need some cheap value. And I think there is definitely some cheap value on the slate we can go to. The first guy that I like is from the Mets. I absolutely love the Mets today as a stack. And I think Michael Conforto at 3,400 versus Homer Bailey in the Great American Ballpark just makes too much sense here. Conforto, is too cheap, especially for this matchup with Homer Bailey. Homer Bailey is not a good pitcher. As I am recording this video though on Sunday night, we don't have any information, Vegas information for I believe it's 4 of the 7 games on this slate. Yeah, Marlins Cubs don't have any Vegas information on that game. No Vegas information for Cardinals Twins. The Detroit and Texas games offline, and so is the Reds Mets game offline as well. But I expect the Mets to definitely put up runs here versus Homer Bailey. It's just such a good matchup. These dudes are dirt cheap. Conforto, you got projected bat second for 3.4. You got Jay Bruce batting cleanup 3.8. Even Adrian Gonzalez, who has great BVP versus Homer Bailey, batting 6 at 3.5. Some good value. I feel like the Mets are probably going to have one of the highest implied run totals on this slate. Definitely a team you're going to want to have some exposure to. So I love the Mets here. Love Michael Conforto at 3,400. Think he makes a lot of sense if you're looking for some value in the outfield. Then another cheap value play I like, very cheap, under 3K. Think he makes a lot of sense if you're paying up for Strasburg. You need some value in the outfield. Gregor Blanco, 2,700 versus Zach Eflin. I do like Blanco here. I just really like him because he's going to be batting leadoff versus Eflin most likely. We know Blanco definitely has upside if he gets on base. This guy will steal bases. And although I think Eflin's a fine SP2 option, I don't think he's that great of a pitcher. So Gregor Blanco is in a good matchup, I feel like. Obviously, the ballpark upgrade you like as well. Playing in Philly, better ballpark than in San Fran and AT&T, which is a pitcher's paradise. Going to Philly, park upgrade. Blanco projected bat leadoff, just 2.7. A guy that has speed, could definitely get on base and steal bases, get you some points that way. Don't mind him here. If you're looking for a dirt cheap value play in the outfield, I think he makes a lot of sense. Just 2,700. Really fits well if you're trying to play Strasburg today. And then the last guy that I like, going back to the Mets, love Jay Bruce here at 3,800. In that same matchup with Homer Bailey, I think Jay Bruce is another great option, just too cheap for this matchup with Homer Bailey. Bailey, like I said, just not a good pitcher, really struggles to lefties, gives up home runs. It's a great hitter's park in Great American, Great hitter's park. Love the Mets here, top to bottom. I think this lineup is in play. If you can fit these guys in, definitely play them. If you're playing Strasburg, you can probably fit Mets in with Strasburg, especially the guys like Bruce, Gonzalez, and Conforto. Too cheap, I think, is Drupal Cabrera, 4.3, projected bat leadoff. A good play there. You want a punt catcher, Jose Lobaton, projected bat 7th, only 2.4. Some good value there. Just love the Mets. Think they put up a ton of runs here. Definitely a team I'm loading up on. So these are my 5 plays for today, guys. Steven Strasburg, Michael Fulmer, Michael Conforto, Jay Bruce, and Gregor Blanco. These are 5 guys that I like for today that I'll definitely be considering in my lineups. But now if we want to look at some of the implied run totals on this slate and some of the teams I'm looking to stack up. Like I said earlier, 4 of the 7 games as I'm recording this video are offline. We don't have any Vegas information on some of these games. But if we're just talking about stacks for today, I love the Mets. They're my number 1 stack on this slate. And then number 2 for me is definitely the Tigers. I didn't put any Tigers in the 5 plays, but I really like them here versus Matt Moore. Matt Moore is a terrible pitcher, really struggles to righties. I think Candelario, Nick Castellanos are great plays today, 4.4 and 4.1. But you definitely have some value here with Victor Martinez, only 3.2. I think Jacoby Jones, you're looking for an outfield value play, 3,400 versus Matt Moore. I really like him as well. John Hicks, if you're looking for a cheap catcher, 3,500. He's shown a lot of power lately, and versus a pitcher that gives up a lot of power to righties. Love John Hicks as well, even McCann. Some good value at catcher. So I like the Tigers and the Mets, number 1 for me. definitely the stack I'm loading up on. And that's really it for stacks. It's mainly the Mets and the Tigers, the two teams I'm getting the most exposure to. But now if we want to look at some BVP plays today, there are only 2 BVP plays with at least a 10 at-bat sample on this slate. Adrian Gonzalez, like I said earlier, great BVP versus Homer Bailey. He's 11 for 25 with 6 home runs, a 440 average. And then Jake Smolinski, 5 for 13 versus Dallas Keuchel. And then pitchers, PVB, the pitchers that have done well in their matchups. Kyle Hendricks has done well against the Marlins in the past. They've only hit him for a 219 average. And then Steven Strasburg, to no surprise, has done very well against the Padres. The Padres have only hit Steven Strasburg for a 206 average in the past with 63 at-bats versus him. And then pitchers that have done poorly, kind of to no surprise as well. Homer Bailey really struggled against the Mets. The Mets have hit Homer Bailey for a 301 average in the past, and they have 6 home runs versus Bailey and 73 at-bats. Love the Mets today. I think they're the top stack on the slate, especially given their price tags. But yeah, guys, that's really it for BVP and PVB on the slate. And I think that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helped you. If you did enjoy, just make sure you click that like button down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe as well. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And good luck tonight on this slate. Peace.